may this be one of the best moments of your life. You're listening to the Business Mirror podcast for a broader look on business with Senior Editor Dennis Estopace.
Hello, this is Business Mirror's Broader Look podcast. Our very special guest for today is the lead singer and moving spirit behind the American reggae band Big Mountain. Let's give it up for Joaquin, Quino McWhinney.
Thank you.
Thank you. And
I love
Quino.
it here in the Philippines. You guys know how to pronounce Quino.
Yes.
A lot of places I go, they go Quino.
Oh, there was actually a pop star here by the name of Quino, but
Okay.
in the 90s, in the 80s, but his name was spelled as Keno.
Oh, okay.
Oh, so it's it's a more literal sounding Quino.
Right.
Yeah, okay. Quino, tell me something. How did your passion for music started?
Well, from a very young age, I was exposed to music via my family. My grandfather played violin.
Okay.
He was an immigrant to the United States from Mexico. He was born in Chihuahua, Mexico. So he had a number of different bands, and two of his brothers played in his band. And they played traditional Mexican music, corridos, boleros, rancheras. So that was, my first taste of it. But then my uncle, actually two of my uncles, followed it in tradition. One of my greatest and first mentors, my uncle Oscar, pianist and vocalist, and my uncle Eddie. And they followed in the Mexican tradition, but then they started to add popular American music to their repertoire, anything from jazz to jazz standards, and then later on, pop music that was popular in the 70s.
Okay. By Mexican, did you also mean they were, or at least some of them were mariachis?
Well, mariachi is a very typical type of music that comes from down south, Guadalajara.
Okay.
And my family were more norteños people, and from the northern part of Mexico. Some of their repertoire did include what you would consider mariachi repertoire, but they didn't play in that configuration. Mariachi tends to be music that they use a bass called a guitarrón. They use a guitar called a vihuela, and it gives it that very distinct, and then the trumpet and, those type of things. But some of the songs from the popular mariachi songs did make it into the repertoire, but they made it their own. They used their standard, what they called conjunto groups, which was a stand-up bass, a guitar. They did have horns in it, but saxophone, sort of like a horn section. So it's, but a lot of the music that they played was very much ranch oriented music. These are, they were farm workers. My grandfather owned a farm, and they used music, for ranch parties, on the weekends. And this was something to entertain their community. My grandparents, they had immigrated to a valley called Coachella, which is in Southern California.
Okay.
And they were part of that whole Mexican immigrant experience that for many, the vast majority of Mexicans, especially from that generation, it all revolved around being campesinos, picking vegetables, and being migrants, people that would wander or migrate from wherever there was work. And my grandmother, she tells me stories. She crossed in El Paso, Texas. She tells me stories about her, her family picking vegetables in places like Georgia and North Carolina, Virginia, until they ended up finally settling in California because they started growing oranges. And then she went to high school there, and then her family moved to Coachella because they opened up a big canal there. And today Coachella is a very, very strong agriculture community.
It's also a popular venue for music festivals.
That's right.
Yes,
Coachella, My grandfather's farm is, I'd say, about 10 miles away from that venue.
Okay. So growing up in a family of musicians, so it was just natural for you to gravitate towards music.
Absolutely. You know, it. You know, you grow up. My family, they had famous parties, and I still remember from my earliest memories crawling around the dance floor while people were dancing. And back then, people danced. You know, it was usually partner dancing, and there was a set of rhythms that they had. They would play boleros and, like I said, rancheras and trio music and party hard. You know, poor people, that immigrant experience, but worked hard and partied hard type of thing. And so yeah, it was a beautiful early upbringing for me. And later on, when I discovered reggae music, which was, you know, it was sort of a consequence of me. When I was 7 years old, my father, actually, when I was 6 years old, my father graduated from Cal Poly with a degree in agriculture.
Okay.
And he got a job with Dole, the fruit company.
Oh, yeah.
And we moved down to Honduras. So I spent my 6th and 7th year living in a Central American company in the middle of this banana plantation in this very little town called Coyoles. And so I got that experience, it was very close to the Caribbean. A lot of our time there we spent in a town called La Ceiba, which is a coastal town, the port where the bananas would ship out to the United States. And I have a feeling that there was something about the sound, the music, the groove, the sort of those syncopated. There's a lot of African-oriented, African-based music. There's a large community of people, African Indian community called Garifuna there that plays sort of this calypso oriented type of music. I have a feeling that's when I came back, when we ended up moving back to the United States, it was pulling me. That sound still resonated in my heart. And I can remember hearing reggae and saying, there's something about that music that's in me.
You still weren't a professional musician by that time?
No. This was early on. And, you know, I'm talking about, this is even my, you know, adolescent, preteen years.
Okay. You haven't decided that you wanted to pursue a career in music yet?
You know what? And it took me a long time to build up the courage to tell anybody that I wanted to be a musician, you know. I can remember my first experience with Bob Marley was very distinctive and something that I'll never forget. But I had already gravitated towards music, and you know, like I was just talking to one of your coworkers about Peter Frampton. We started talking about Peter Frampton. I would have been 10 years old in 1976 when his big album, that Frampton Comes Alive, that album that swept the world. Yeah. And I remember I got that album for Christmas that year. My next door neighbor, my best friend, he gave it to me. And so I was already, you know, listening to different types of music. And I remember there was something about, also my father passed away, actually early on. He actually passed away in Honduras, and that was the reason we came back, after only 2 years there. And my mother married my stepfather, who's African American man. And my biological father was, tall, red-headed gringo, white man of, you know, kind of like English Irish stock. So, you know, I feel fortunate that I really kind of got that diverse background in ethnic culture, having that very strong Mexican influence from my maternal side. And then I was still very, very close with my father, my biological father's family. My aunt is one of my mentors intellectually. And then when I was blessed to have an amazing man become my stepfather, He flooded the house with he was a lover of jazz, so all of a sudden I was listening to Miles and Coltrane, Earth, Wind and Fire, Ella Fitzgerald, just all of this amazing music. And then my grandmother, my step-grandmother, she would buy me these great records, man, Earth, Wind and Fire, all in all. I would have been 11 years old. And
I think we're about the same age.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah, yes. You mentioned you were 10 in 76. So I suppose we were exposed to the same kind of radio music.
Yeah.
And some of the early reggae hits that I was exposed to was like Johnny Nash, I Can See Clearly Now.
Yeah.
And
I totally remember that.
And
song.
I Shot the Sheriff, which was remade by Eric Clapton,
Clapton.
originally by Bob Marley. So you were digging reggae already at that time.
It's funny you say that because I remember coming back from Honduras and I Shot the Sheriff. Eric Clapton's version was one of those first songs that really touched me. And that song, Johnny Nash, I Can See Clearly Now. I remember, what was it? The Carpenters.
Oh.
Karen Carpenter was in her heyday. And so it was very musical time. Burt Bacharach, just this amazing, and then Stevie Wonder, was in his really prolific days, 70s.
Even Paul McCartney, when he did the soundtrack for the movie Live and Let Die, James Bond,
Absolutely,
it had the reggae part.
Yeah, yes, that's right.
What does it matter to you?
Yeah, Wings.
Yes.
That was a great Paul Simon, Elton John. It was an amazing time for music, and then later on, groups like the Eagles, and then let's not forget disco. That was a little bit later. I think I was in junior high school when I'll never forget a friend of mine had the LP of Saturday Night Fever.
Yeah,
and he was looking at it, and he had it set up. It was a double album, so it was standing up, and he was looking at it like that. And I walked by and I said, "What's that?" He said, "Well, it's just Saturday Night Fever, And wow, the Bee Gees, and that took the whole world by storm.
Yes. But at the same time, Bob Marley was also coming up with a lot of great music, a lot of great songs. Yeah, Jammin', Is It Love, Could You Be Loved? Yeah,
absolutely. And I discovered Bob Marley. Me and my father, we used to sit down and watch this news program. I don't know if they showed it over here, called 60 Minutes.
Yes, they did.
CBS.
Yes.
And that was like the way we would wind down on Sunday, and he would, the weekend was over, and now it was time to shift to preparing yourself for school on Monday. And so we would watch 60 Minutes. It became a tradition for us. I remember 7 to 8 o'clock. And they had a story on Bob Marley.
Yes.
And I was blown away. Just everything about him. I was already at that point very much on the left side of the political spectrum.
Okay.
And there was something, and I'm not sure, I have a feeling that my experience in Honduras also played a big part in that.
Okay.
Living in an unindustrialized country, seeing the way other people lived. When I came back from Honduras, I was only 7 years old, but I was already somebody that was very proud of, those were really significant years in terms of identity. So I came back from Honduras already with a very Honduran identity. I remember not wanting to leave, even though my father had just died and it was a tragic experience. I was not ready to go back to the United States, and I was yanked from that. I lived in this little jungle community, and I came back to the United States definitely a changed person in terms of, I could tell that the people around me, the Americans around me, had a different experience than me, and
that's how you started as a musician.
Well, I mean, it was really Bob Marley that actually, that experience with reggae music and watching that 60 Minutes program that actually drove me to the point where I toyed around with the idea of becoming a musician. And I didn't really have a strong voice early on. It wasn't, nobody pulled me aside. Nobody pulled me aside and said, wow, you know how to sing. My little brother, coincidentally, he was, he had this natural tone and this ear and this ability to sing early on. And I remember I used to get jealous because my uncles would say, wow, man, your little brother can sing, And I'd be sitting there going, yeah, well, what about me? So, it wasn't just music. I needed something else besides music to drive me to the point where I considered becoming a musician. And, we're talking, this is post-Vietnam, right?
Yes.
United States is in turmoil. Things like the, black nationalist movement is strong and the Chicano movement is strong. Women's lib, there's marches all over the place. The whole place was on fire, And I felt that. And reggae, for some reason, to me, just coined the whole period for me and gave me sort of a vehicle for the things that I was feeling inside, how to express myself.
Okay. So before Big Mountain, were you with another band?
Yeah. I was with a lot of different bands because I didn't start off being a lead singer. My first experience was being a background vocalist for another band. It was a band called Cornerstone. And this would have been, I graduated in 84, so this would have probably been like 86.
Okay. You had different hair back then, I can imagine.
Yeah. I didn't have dreads for a long time.
Okay.
And so I did that for a while, and then somebody noticed that, that I had a knack for harmonies and had a strong voice, so they asked me to be the lead singer of their band. My cousin and I, we also had a band for a little while called Rainbow Warriors. And then when I was in Rainbow Warriors, that's when some older musicians kind of discovered me and said, oh, okay, you got a voice. Come and play with the big boys now, Okay. So they were like kind of the big boys in town, the big reggae guys. They were backing up Jamaican artists. There was already a lot of Jamaican artists that would come through town.
And they're already called Big Mountain?
No.
Not
at
yet.
that point, it was a band called Shiloh.
Shiloh, okay.
And Shiloh, I recorded my first album. That would have been 1990.
Okay.
And our later hit with Big Mountain, Touch My Light, was on that album. We re-recorded it for the album Wake Up. And Shiloh pretty much evolved into Big Mountain. In that 2-year period, I ended up becoming the leader of the band. I kind of started out as a little singer that would get kicked around by the big guys, but I soon learned how to become the captain of the ship.
Why was it called Big Mountain? I mean, the band.
That's a great question. Early on, even before Shiloh, there was a struggle that was just popular and kind of captivating the local, how would you say, leftist community there. Just the conscious. I don't know why the word is slipping me, but just the activist community. And it was a group of Native Americans, Navajos, which actually the real name of Navajo people is Dene. They were fighting relocation because of a mining company. A mining company wanted them to leave because they were mining coal there, and the indigenous people were just getting in the way, and they were using coal. They would use water to transport coal, so it was affecting everybody's lives there, and so they started to reach out to communities like ours and have benefits. One, to just assist people that were being relocated and becoming refugees in their own land, but also to get the word out about the injustice that was going on. so we would do benefits for them, and we did a lot of benefits. It ended up becoming this regular thing. There was this little cafe on the campus of UCSD. There was just a hangout for hippies and Rastas and vegetarians, and it was just kind of like this really counterculture little hideout, and we would have these amazing shows there. It was a great time. And
So by then, Shiloh has now become a big mountain.
Well, Shiloh had started to become prominent. We recorded a record, and lo and behold, the name Shiloh was owned by Don Henley of the
Really?
Eagles. Yeah.
Really?
So
Okay.
one way or another, his people let us know that the name was already taken.
That you can't use that anymore.
We can't use that name. And so yeah, we were forced to change the name, and because we were so involved in the Big Mountain movement, it just fell into place.
Oh, that's great. Okay. One of the constant images that I see in your records is that of the sun. The smiling sun. Is there any particular significance? Does it have anything to do with the fact that you played the very popular reggae Sunsplash Festival and all that?
You know what? It did. It was that was just coincidence. I wasn't really in charge of the artistic direction. I really wasn't even interested in it. I mean, there was a couple of things that I had done. I remember there was this one symbol that we had where there was a one love in the middle, and then had all the different symbols of all religions, kind of like symbolizing religious unity. And I was in charge of a couple little things, but that was somebody that was actually kind of like spearheaded by my manager, Bruce Kaplan, who's my manager today.
Okay. Tell me something. I think this is something that our listeners would want to know. The story behind your remake of Baby I Love Your Way.
Well, we had just finished. We had finished our first album in 1992, an album called Wake Up, and as I mentioned, we redid the song "Touch My Light," which ended up becoming a regional hit and actually top 5 in the Los Angeles area.
Okay.
And it was, it was a strange time in radio. Hits could come out of nowhere still. There wasn't a lot of just sort of that homogenized approach to radio as it is today. And so it was being played everywhere. You couldn't escape it. And the movie Reality Bites was in production.
Yes.
And it was being touted as sort of the movie that would pretty much define what Generation X was all about.
Okay.
And they wanted to make a soundtrack back then. Big soundtracks were a big part of big movies, and it was a generational movie. Ben Stiller was directing it.
Yes.
And the Peter Frampton version was in the movie.
Okay.
And the guy that was in charge, the director of the album, a guy named Ron Fair, producer, he decided to make a reggae version of the Peter Frampton song.
Okay.
And he reached out to the reggae community, and a number of bands did demos of it, and he liked our demo the best. And, we Touch My Light was already impossible to escape, so he was aware of us because of that, and we ended up getting the gig and changed everything.
Okay. Very surprised that it became a really huge hit.
I knew that it was surprising for me. The sound of Baby I Love Your Way, I remember it being very big for my ears, and it just, I could have never imagined myself playing a song where the production was sort of that wall of sound type of thing. I don't think that I had any idea that it was going to be as big as it got. There was, I'd never really imagined. I mean, I felt like it was reggae's time. I wanted to be a part of that.
Okay.
I wanted to be a part of getting reggae on the radio, and I really was a believer that the message of reggae the unity, building bridges between communities and bringing people together under sort of a banner of one love. I wanted to be a part of that, and I really believed in that. But, having the first big, huge pop reggae hit in the world, I never thought that I was going to be a part of that experience.
Because of this song, did you ever get a chance to meet Peter Frampton?
He and I have communicated, but no, we were supposed to meet. Actually, last summer he was coming through, and his people got in touch with my manager, and we were going to set it. And then we got this gig that came out of nowhere, and I wasn't able to meet him. But I'm sure it's going to happen one of these days.
So I take it he loved your version.
Well, it certainly added to his income.
Of course. Added a lot.
I mean, it's I think that he respects it a lot, and he sent us messages in his way.
Oh, okay.
To lead us to believe that.
Okay. And one of your succeeding singles was also a cover song of the Youngbloods' Get Together.
Yes.
It's actually my favorite.
I'm so glad
songs.
you mentioned that, because we are re-releasing that this month.
Okay. What's the story behind it? Why did you choose that song to cover?
I mean, it's just sort of what reggae bands were doing in the 90s.
Okay.
We were, the record companies. I always loved that song, actually.
Yeah. It's very anthemic in the 60s when it first came out. It's like
I always enjoyed the song,
like
so I
a free-spirited type of song, yeah.
Yeah, it seemed like a perfect reggae message, but I really didn't hear the song as a reggae song. And we were working with this producer named Aaron Zigman at the time, and he came up with sort of a scheme that worked for everybody, and we got the tapes to that. We were never really totally happy with the mix of that song. We felt that the production was there, but that the mix was wrong.
Oh, okay.
So we got the tapes back from Warner several years ago, and we remixed it, added a couple little things to the production, and it's due to be released. As a matter of fact, just today when we were talking, they sent me the artwork to approve. And it'll be coming out worldwide, and Warner is releasing our old record label. We're not technically signed to them, but we still have a lot of interest with each other because they own a lot of our masters. So we're re-releasing that song.
A couple of more questions. You've been here in the Philippines 4 times already.
Yes.
Can you share with us some of your fondest memories here while performing?
Yeah, I can remember the first time I came to the Philippines. I'm a very proud person of Mexican heritage. It's something that has absorbed my life in a lot of ways, and of course, that's led me to really be curious about Spanish colonialism and just the story behind colonialism. As painful as it is who we are, right? It's kind of like one of those things where you can shoot it with holes, but it's a part of you. So you have to just accept things that happened in the past, and I've read and I've studied and I've gone over the whole conquest of Tenochtitlan, Mexico City, and Cortez marching, and Moctezuma, Cuauhtemoc, and I recorded a whole album using a lot of Aztec symbology and myths and stories, and as a consequence, I was also very intrigued by the voyage of Magellan, and I studied that, and and him, the circumnavigation of the world, and Cebu, and the story behind him being killed in the Philippines, and so finally coming here, I've always seen Mexico and the Philippines being sister countries, having such similar experiences in some ways, and also having very similar results. And so coming here was a bit of a pilgrimage for me. It was, it was like coming home. It was a place that was familiar to me because it was just so many parallels. Indigenous people being subjugated by this European country that would sail these little rickety boats around the world and somehow convince everybody to follow them, And I've always just been fascinated by why that happened. Of course, resentful, but understanding that you can't change history. And the Spanish, the Spanish force was a force to be reckoned with, I guess, back then. And because it happened to both of us, right? It happened to Mexico. It happened to the Philippines.
We share the same bit of history, right?
Yeah.
The galleon trade, Acapulco.
Exactly. Yes. So that made me arrive to the Philippines with definitely a feeling of solidarity and brotherhood and and curious, kind of like coming here going, okay, so what are these people like? I know there's a lot of Filipinos in California, right? And so it's not like they were, it wasn't a mystery, but I knew that there was going to be something a little different, about homegrown Filipinos, or just coming here and seeing the colors, listening to the language, and seeing it. And of course, I know the Philippines has been one of these places in the world where you guys have been having to deal with so many invasions and just so many different forces coming in and imposing themselves upon you. And it's like, I'm a sociologist, really. I studied sociology in college. So I've been trained to sort of pick apart things and really take a step back. And so, of course, so I do feel at home here. From the first time I stepped on these islands, it was like, okay, this is my place. I feel these people are me, and I don't feel like this is a strange place. I understand, it's very similar to Mexico in a lot of ways. A great country, a country of the future, right? A country that's little in terms of power and influence, but huge because everybody knows about it. Mexico and the Philippines, they're both two countries that everybody around the world is very, very interested in, and then not to mention, I love the food, and I love the fact that they love Big Mountain.
Okay.
That you all love Big Mountain.
And you'll be seeing more of the Philippines in the coming days, right?
Yes.
You just performed in Legazpi, which Jesse told me was well received.
Yes.
And then you have on January 25 you'll be in Bohol.
Yep. And
then January 30 you'll be at Music Warehouse in Dagupan. January 31st you'll be in Johnny Be Good in Makati, which is a benefit concert for the evacuees of Taal volcano.
Yes.
February 2.
Very excited about that.
You'll be in Baguio City. Oh, cold weather, yeah. And February 7, you'll be in Dumaguete Forest Camp. And in February 8, Puerto Princesa in Palawan. Okay, what can we expect from Quino in addition to, Baby I Love Your Way and Get Together?
Well, my son's going to be with me.
Oh.
My son, he's flying in tomorrow night. So he's going to be joining me on stage.
How old is your son?
He's 29.
Oh, okay.
And he's a musician, guitar singer, just like me. He's not a reggae musician. So that's special for me. And it's always fun to perform with him on stage. And then I'm playing with some amazing Filipino musicians. Okay. Jesse put together a great band.
Okay.
for me. So it's great because I get to really immerse myself in the community on that level. I think that I think Big Mountain's message is always going to be to try to just inspire people to trust in love.
Okay.
That I do believe that love is a solution to all of our problems, and that if we approach this life from a compassionate, loving direction, that we're going to get the best results, and regardless of what the possible consequences are of that, I do believe in that message, and I know that I know the Filipino people do as well. This is it's a place that that exhibits a lot of compassion and family and brotherhood and closeness, and it's just nice to be able to come to some of these more provincial communities that I've been getting so much information from and messages from, because I get so many messages from our friends and supporters in the Philippines. And when Big Mountain comes, we primarily just play Manila and Cebu. So I'm excited about getting out to some of the outlying areas and really being able to touch the people. And we're going to bring them, an exciting show. Big Mountain is a mixture of, some of these endearing messages and concepts of unity and peace and love, mixed with some biting, dark political messages, and then of course the pop classics, love ballads that I always love to sing and never get tired of.
Okay, that's it. And finally, Quino, can you give your fans a taste of your coming shows, and
Yes,
can you give us a couple of acoustic performances?
I will do my best.
Okay.
I will do my best. Shadows grow so long before my eyes, and they're moving across the page. Suddenly the day turns into night, far away from the city. But don't, oh no, hesitate, 'cause your love won't wait. Hey, yeah. Ooh, baby, I love your way every day. I wanna tell you I love your way every day. I wanna be with you night and day. The moon appears to shine and light the sky with the hair of some fireflies. I wonder how they have the power to shine. Well, I can see them under the pine. But don't, oh no, hesitate, la-di-da, 'cause your love won't wait. Hey, yeah. Ooh, baby, I love your way every day. I wanna tell you I love your way. Tell you how I love your way. I wanna be with you night and day. I can see the sunset in your eyes, brown and gray and blue besides. Clouds are stalking islands in the sun. I wish I could buy one out of season, but don't, oh no, hesitate, la-di-da, 'cause your love won't wait. Hey, yeah, yeah. Ooh, baby, I love you way every day. I wanna tell you I love you way. Tell you how I love you way. I wanna be with you night and day. Every night and day, yeah. Ooh, baby, I love you way. Baby, how I love you way. I wanna tell you I love you way. Tell you how I love you way. I wanna be with you night and day. Ooh, baby, I love your way every day.
Beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Can I ask for one more? Get together.
Love is but a song we sing, feels the way we die. Oh yeah, you can make the mountains ring or make angels cry. Though the bird is on the wing and you may not know why. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Come on, people now. Smile on your brother. Everybody get together. Try to love one another right now. Some will come and some will go, and we shall surely pass. Oh, yeah. When the one that left us here returns for us at last. Oh, yeah, yeah. We are but a moment's sunlight fading in the grass. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Come on, people now. Smile on your brother. Everybody get together. Try to love one another right now. Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Come on, people now. Smile on your brother. Everybody get together. Try to love one another right now. Whoa, yeah, yeah, yeah. Wanna grab a hold of your friend. No pain for deal and a history for men. We gotta live in this situation. Must forward into this generation. Speak the truth in your heart and your mind. Do what's right and you will find there's a universal family. Peace, my brothers and my sisters. Come on, people now. Smile on your brother, everybody get together. Try to love one another right now. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Come on, people now. Smile on your brother, everybody get together. Try to love one another right now. Try to love one another right now. Try to love one another right now.
Thank you very much. That's Quino of Big Mountain. And this is BM Brother Look Podcast. This is SoundStrip editor Edwin P. Sallan, and we'll see you soon.
Big love.
Thank you for listening to the Business Mirror podcast. For a broader look on business, follow us on Facebook and Twitter at Business Mirror. Until next time.